Hey guys, Manic Mercurian here with another birth chart reading, and this reading is for Wednesday, October 29th, 2003 at 10:26 p.m. in Sydney, Australia. And this person has Sun in Scorpio, Moon in Capricorn, but barely, so it's good that you have a specific birth time because Moon is barely in Capricorn and Gemini rising. And it's so funny because I don't know if I'm going to post it publicly, but the chart reading that I just did had the same positioning of the sun, moon, and rising. But that's just funny to me. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is that, well, and I'll say why I'm coming to this conclusion first. So you have Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Scorpio. So that's Sun plus two of the other inner planets. And you also have South Node at 20 degrees of Scorpio as well. And then you also have Moon in Capricorn, which is honestly it's similar to Scorpio. There's definitely some shared themes there. So you would very much relate to the archetype of Scorpio. You'd be almost like the epitomal Scorpio to some extent. And in general as well, you really don't have a lot of air or fire. You are of course a Gemini rising. That's important. That's airy, but for the inner planets, they're all in Scorpio, Capricorn, and then you have Mars in Pisces. Jupiter in Virgo, Saturn in Cancer. You really only have two planets in Yang signs, and they're both outer planets, and they're both in Aquarius. So you're very watery, and then you also have some Earth too as well. So these are the heavier elements. So you would think before you act. Things are heavy to you, so you have deep emotions and deep feelings, and you may be very like sensual, or you think before you act. You'd be very strategic with the Scorpio and the Capricorn. I think these two signs, I definitely kind of group them in my mind. They are sort of different than all the other signs because I don't think any other sign is ambitious in the same way that Scorpio and Capricorn are. It's like they're always constantly striving toward, working toward this future goal. They're very future oriented. And so you would grow up in an environment that was heavily structured and very disciplined. And you wouldn't have, the moon is in detriment in Capricorn. So ideally we would like our upbringings to be, nurturing and comfortable, and where we would be allowed to be sensitive or vulnerable at a young age. But you didn't really have those luxuries. You were in sort of a tough environment that required you to mature very quickly, and so you were very precocious. You learned things very quickly, and you became, now I have to be careful with the way I say this. On the one hand, you became autonomous at a very young age. You probably started working at a young age. Well, you still are young. I think this is the youngest chart reading I've done on this channel. But yeah, you probably started working very young, and have been very autonomous. And maybe that's why you're asking for a chart reading. But at the same time, Scorpio is interesting because it is very independent to some degree. Like, it's very strong-willed, I guess you could say. It knows who it is. Same with Capricorn Moon, for that instance, for that matter as well. You definitely are very strong-willed. You know yourself very well, but at the same time, like you're very autonomous and independent. But at the same time, you can definitely be codependent as well. And so hopefully, I'll explain that a little better. But it's like even though you grew up, having to be on your own and to make things work out yourself, make ends meet, so to speak, you definitely crave intimacy. I think it could be hard for you because you're sort of a private person, but you have these really deep emotions, and I think that can be really challenging because you definitely don't want to share that with people because you I don't know, having really strong emotions can be good. It can be exhilarating, but it can make you feel out of control, especially when other people become involved. But you're very loyal and committed. You're all about the long term. And so I think that's important. You want people in your life, not just romantically, but just in general. You want to find those really, really loyal people, like you're loyal. And I think that can be hard for you to find, especially at a young age, because people just aren't on that same page at a young age. They're not, they're more playful and just experimental. You wouldn't be necessarily playful or experimental. I think you would know exactly what you want from a very young age. You know who you are, and again, you're all about the long term. You want to have these really long term projects, and I think you could succeed at whatever you do professionally because both you have those Scorpio and Capricorn energies, and both of those energies have such an admirable way about them. I don't know if I can even explain it to them in a way that would give it justice, but like they're both more than happy to work at a low position doing like hard labor, what have you, or whatever it is, but it's only because they know that they're steadily working toward this greater goal. And so on the one hand they're very slow and steady in what they do, but on the other hand they actually can climb ladders like very quickly, and they can excel with like managerial or leadership positions. They have this slow and steady wins the race type of attitude when it comes to their work and their productivity. And I really think you would always be working toward things. You'd always be having goals in your mind, and you'd always be evolving. Scorpio, again, you have such strong Scorpio energies, and Scorpio is constant change. It's a fixed sign, but it's fixed water, and water's always changing. It's hardly ever still. Even if water is still in like a pond or something, it's still evaporating, and then it just leaves and just transforms. So you're always changing and evolving and growing. Your upbringing was interesting because it was almost this combination of being too structured or overly structured in kind of a harsh way, but at the same time, it felt like everything was collapsing. And so you're constantly wanting to make structure and order out of everything, which is good. There's pros and cons to every trait, but you also have Jupiter in Virgo, so you have a knack for organizing, and I don't know, you could even be one for like making like lists or charts. Like you want to, project things in your mind of like, where is this going? How do I get from A to B? That's what you're really, really great at, I think, with your chart is, like you're not necessarily idealistic. So you don't come up with like these big, great dreams or like, idealistic dreams, I guess you could say. Like what you're really good at is getting from A to B, like working, showing up every day to get toward this greater goal. Creating order out of chaos, I think, would be a really strong theme for you. Okay, and then let's jump around a little bit. So you have Saturn in Cancer. So Saturn's in detriment in Cancer, and you have Venus in detriment as well. So you have kind of some detrimented. You have Jupiter in detriment as well. You have a lot of detriment planets in your chart, and I don't think you have any that are in domicile or exalted. You may or may not know what this means, but just give me a moment here. So, yeah. Okay, so that would just generally mean as a whole that you wouldn't be super easily understood by people. And this is common for Scorpio as well, and Capricorn moon for that matter. But all these kind of detriment placements, you are counterculture, and you're not what's expected. You are deep and complex, and people won't understand you right away. Yeah, you would generally be sort of misunderstood because you're offbeat necessarily, and I wanted to put that in more detail. So like, you're not off, like you have your own rhythm. You're very much, like autonomous. You know what you want, like I was saying, but it's just not in line with like what other people are doing, and that's not necessarily. It's good or bad. You could think about it either way. It's good because it makes you interesting. You're an individual. You're an independent thinker, and you're unique. Everyone's unique, but maybe some people more than others. You do have Uranus in domicile, but yeah, overall, most planets in detriment. Even Uranus is kind of a counterculture planet, but yeah, you'd be very interesting because you have your own opinions, or you have something different that other people don't. You're not necessarily what everyone wants or expects right away, but anyone who's looking for, something different, or, something really interesting, or different than the norm, I guess you could say, would find you very attractive, because you are, I don't know, uh, not what's expected, I guess you could say. And that also means that, okay, and I'm noticing another theme here as well, because with Scorpio and Capricorn, again, like I said, it's all about the long term. They do grow up very quickly, but at the same time, they're working for such large goals that, like, it's almost like they're adults early on, but then they start these really big careers that, take lots of time to develop, because they go so deep into it. And you also have a lot of detriment placements, which means that your life and your development has this interesting combination of you growing up extremely quickly and adapting, and becoming an adult and learning how to be a functioning adult in society. You would figure all this stuff out extremely quickly. But on the other hand, your whole life you're constantly developing and changing and evolving and working on these really big long-term plans. And so on the one hand, you grow up right away, and on the other hand, you're always working on these really long projects that, you won't even really see fully develop until much later. And I don't know exactly what you would do in your career. You have midheaven at 0 degrees Aries, which is really powerful. You could be a leader, or you would take initiative in the public eye, or yeah, you have really great placements for, I don't know, management or being a leader, and it's almost kind of universal. So, like, I don't even know which industry I would say you would be attracted to necessarily. Maybe something kind of different or obscure. Let's see, I don't know. That could be a lot of things though. But you're almost just so good at, like I said, showing up every day and working toward this longer term goal, or just your attitude. You could apply that to almost any industry. And so I don't have a lot of information on like what you should do as a job or a career, but I will say that I think you'd be good at whatever it is, and you become a leader in whatever it is, because that's just how you are. You're so quick at learning and adapting, and showing up every day to do the work, that yeah, I think you could be really successful at something. um, Also, with these kind of heavier energies, you do think things through. You're not necessarily super spontaneous. You do have Gemini rising, which I still need to talk about, but you're even Gemini rising would almost make you think about everything a lot. And then when you combine that with the heavier, these earth and water energies, you're not the person who's the most like spontaneous or maybe charismatic right off the bat. You think things through, and when you make a decision, you can almost be a little bit stubborn, because you put a lot of thought and emotion, for that matter, into your actions and your decisions. And I forgot where I was going with that. I think I was just saying that, like, it would be very respectable that like, when you, especially as like a leader at your job, which I really feel like you would be, when you make a decision, I think people who know you at all would very much respect your authority, because when you make a decision, you know what you're talking about. You're very certain. Like, again, you've gone through the work, you've thought about it. You have this great combination of Capricorn Moon, which is very pragmatic, no nonsense. Let's focus on reality. It's very realistic, maybe even a little bit cynical. Scorpio's a bit cynical as well, but Scorpio's very, intuitive and emotional. So you have that nice combination of the earthy pragmaticism and the focus on, the real world, and you're very practical and conservative, I guess you could say. But then, combining that with all these watery and Scorpio energies, you're very intuitive and emotionally intelligent or complex as well. And so it gives you great insight, which again is really great for, career things, but also just anything in life as well. You I would say you're more of an old soul. You have great intuition and common sense. Like, you would be a great person to come to for advice, because I don't know how to explain it better. Like, you just have a great sense of where things are going, I guess, and how to react and adapt to those. And also, you have this great combination of being very adaptable, but also having this fixed core to you. Like, you're very much consistent and you are who you are, and that's never going to change. But on the other hand, you're always adapting and growing at the same time. So that's kind of a contradiction that I'm not sure how to explain exactly. There's a couple. I've been talking so much, but there's still a lot I need to talk about. So you have Mars in. Well, actually, let me jump around here. You have Moon in seventh house. So again, yeah, relationships are very important to you. You don't feel fully secure if you're not in a relationship, and it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It could be a romantic relationship, but you need to have people. Maybe not a lot of people, maybe just a couple, but it's really important for you to have a couple people that are very close to you in your life that you can depend on, because it's almost like you don't feel grounded or you don't feel yourself without someone else to relate to or to bounce energy off of, or and you do have those deep emotional feelings, like you want someone to trust. And again, my heart kind of goes out to you, because I think that'd be really difficult to have at a young age, because again, people just, most young people are just not on that wavelength at all. I think this would be an easier energy later on in life, once everyone else kind of matures more. Then it might be easier to find people that are maybe a little bit more loyal, or that you can really have those close bonds with. But yeah, I do think that's important for you to have a couple of people you can trust. But it's also hard because you're so private. I'm just kind of repeating myself. I did want to talk about Mars and Pisces. Mars and Pisces isn't technically in detriment or at fall, but I consider it to be almost like that, because, okay, this will sound contradictory a bit, but when it comes to like your goals or your ambitions, you may actually feel a bit scattered, which I know totally contradicts everything I said before. Like, on the one hand, you do know what you want and you're very certain and confident. But I think sometimes when you go to actually implement something, or go to actually, take action or to initiate, it can feel muddled, or it's almost like you feel overwhelmed, or you're not sure what to take action for, or like whose side to take. I think this could be especially confusing in like confrontational situations, or times of crisis. I think in confrontational situations or times of crisis, you would hide. You would just want to run away and just go somewhere far, or maybe just within yourself and just be alone. And you wouldn't really want to fight. Now, again, this is sort of contradictory, because you do have Scorpio Sun and Capricorn Moon, all the Scorpio stuff we talked about. So you are a good fighter in those aspects. Scorpio and Capricorn are excellent at fighting because they're so strategic and they hold their ground, and they're, especially with defensive or with covert like warfare, I guess you could say, they're excellent at fighting. But Mars, which represents how you fight, it's in Pisces, so it's confused. It wants to fight for the greater good, like the ultimate greater good. It wants to fight for like spirituality, which sounds really good until you think about like, how do you actually do that? It's such a grand assignment that implementing it can be extremely confusing, and so it may be hard for you at times to take action or to respond to crisis situations. I don't think you would be. You're definitely not one to like instigate fights with people. You are a fighter in the sense that you have this resilient energy about you, that you show up every day and you know what you want and how to get it. But you're not a fighter in the sense that, like, in terms of like actual confrontational situations, you would hold your ground, but I think if given the chance, you would kind of shy away from those. You'd want to just rather just be alone. Hopefully I'm making sense. And then you have, okay, let's talk about relationships. I haven't done that yet. You have Venus and Scorpio in detriment, and then Mars and Pisces. Venus in 6th house, Mars in 9th house, and then descendant in Sagittarius. Yeah, and your ascendant descendant axis is really interesting, and I have so much to say about your chart. I'm not sure why. But okay. So having Venus and Mars both in water signs, it would make you attracted to water signs. And honestly, that's really easy. People's compatibility isn't always that simple because you are very watery yourself, and you're also attracted to other people who are watery. So what that means is you're very emotionally deep, emotionally complex, very kind of sensitive and intuitive, very creative, and you would want that in a partner as well. You would be attracted to that, attracted to someone who is kind of deep and emotional, maybe a little bit sensitive, someone creative, artistic, maybe, especially deep and complex. Scorpio and Pisces. Let me start over. Scorpio and Pisces in particular, being the last water signs, are more old souls and very emotionally complex, or like deep, I guess you could say. And so that's kind of what you would be attracted to in a partner, which would be really easy, again, because that's what you are anyway. So it would be easy for you to understand someone like that because that's what you are and it's what you want. However, you do have Gemini rising, which puts the descendant in Sagittarius, and this is so fascinating to me because it's like the main part of your chart that it's almost like it doesn't fit, or it's like it's its own thing. It's separate in some way. And this has a lot of implications. So in compatibility, in romance, relationships, above all else, actually maybe on par with the water. You definitely need someone watery, emotional, everything I just said, but you also need someone with traits or qualities reminiscent of Sagittarius. So you want someone kind of fiery, outgoing, someone playful, and maybe this could kind of mix up things a bit because you are so conservative and think before you act, and very deep and kind of heavy. I think you would also like a partner who is maybe a little bit different than that. Someone who's a little bit light and upbeat. Someone who's emotionally deep and complex like you are, but maybe someone a little bit more adventurous or spontaneous. Someone kind of charismatic and if you're attracted to men, this would be kind of a masculine person. Someone, maybe literally kind of muscly, or someone who's very active or outgoing, I guess you could say. And same, if you're attracted to women, then it would be someone outgoing, someone. Oh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, you would want someone playful, outgoing, adventurous. That's really what you need. And even though it's so different, it might be difficult because even though you need that, it's kind of different than everything else in your chart. You're so calculated. But I think that can help you to maybe not take everything or take things so seriously, or to feel you can get stuck in these really, really deep feelings. And I think someone who's kind of more playful and lively, it would help you to break out of that, and it would actually be easy for you to understand someone like that, even though it would be very different than what you are. Oh, and you have Pluto conjunct the descendant as well, so I almost see you maybe being with another Scorpio that has like some Sagittarius planets, or maybe vice versa, maybe a Sagittarius with Scorpio planets, something of that nature, because again, you do need someone watery, someone playful and outgoing, but then you've got Pluto conjunct the descendant, so you'd want someone who has Plutonian themes about them, which would come back to Scorpio basically. You'd want someone very deep and complex, maybe someone misunderstood or obscure or complex, interesting. I don't know. You would want someone kind of deep and soulful in compatibility. And yeah, I think those are the main things I see for compatibility. You definitely wouldn't necessarily be attracted to someone earthy or airy. I think if you do meet someone with air in their chart, like Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, they would be more of a friend to you, not so much a lover or relationship situation. And with Gemini rising, that puts a focus on like learning, and it makes your mind very active. and it makes your chart ruler, Mercury, which is in Scorpio, of course. Everything comes back to Scorpio in your chart. I feel like you're very much a Scorpio. But Mercury in Scorpio is strengthened because you're a Gemini rising. So you're always thinking, and you're extremely perceptive. You're good at understanding people, figuring people out. You may be good at like psychology, or you may be interested in psychology or mysteries, maybe like paranormal experiences, because you like things that are complicated or complex or edgy. You like figuring out problems or situations. You like you have such I don't want to say cranial capacity, because a lot of it is your intellect and observational skills, but a lot of it is like emotional. It's this emotional intuition as well. But you have such great ability. You have such great perceptive ability that you enjoy applying that to complex things, complex people, ideas, group structures, or mysteries. You like figuring out complex things like that. You're extremely perceptive. And with Gemini rising, you're always thinking. Yeah, you're good at understanding people. I think I kind of covered the basics there. But it means that one of your life missions is to learn, which is kind of interesting because this is sort of different than most of the other stuff in your chart. But I don't know. I definitely see a life mission to work toward a big goal, or maybe a career, to become very established and renowned in this or that area in your career. But it may have to do with like learning or acquiring information. Um, you have a mission that has to do with learning as well. And Mercury in Scorpio is very strong. I think it's an underrated placement because you can be intellectual and imagine these sort of complex ideas, but again, you have that emotional intuition, which is so crucial as well, that you can figure things out very well. Okay, what else? You have Lilith in Taurus, which is kind of interesting because that's sort of opposing your Scorpio placements. So yeah, it's actually, you'd be a very sensual person, and you're very committed. I see you as being very like monogamous. Um, you're not. You do have Gemini rising, but so you do need complexity in your life. But I think complexity is different than variety. Um, you experience variety in limited subjects. I don't know how to say that. Okay, so even if you're very monogamous and you're just with one person, you want to be with someone else who's complex, because you can get so much diversity in focusing on one person, if that makes sense. Um, you're not someone who necessarily wants to like jump around and be trying this or that. You know what you want, and you I don't know. I'm running out of steam here, but hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, I think that clicked with me. I feel pretty confident about that. Let me know, as always, what fit or what didn't. And yeah, it's a great chart. But thanks for the request. See you later.